There are moments in life when words come easily, and there are moments when words matter so much that they almost fail us. Parshat Vayechi is one of those moments. It is the end of Sefer Bereshit, the end of the patriarchal narratives, the end of a life shaped by struggle, blessing, exile, reconciliation, and commitment. Jacob, Yaakov Avinu, is dying. He gathers his children around him, hoping to leave them with something enduring. And the Torah tells us, Vayikra Yaakov el banav vayomer, Jacob called his sons and said, Heyasfu va'agida lachem et asher yikratchem ba'acharit hayamim. Gather yourselves together, and I will tell you what will befall you at the end of days. The verse is filled with anticipation. Acharit hayamim, the end of days, the future, redemption, certainty. And then something surprising happens. Jacob never tells them. Instead, the Torah shifts. Instead of revelation, we get poetry. Instead of prophecy, we get character. Instead of answers, we get blessing, woven with truth, love, disappointment, and restraint. The Talmud famously asks, what happened? Bikesh Yaakov legalot levanav ketza yamin. Jacob sought to reveal the end of days. V'nis talka bimenu Shechina, and the divine presence, the Shechina, withdrew from him. Jacob wanted to tell them their future. God would not allow it. So instead, he leaves them with a way of living. The Gra, the Vilna Gaon, helps us understand why. He teaches that revealing the Kates, the end, too early, undermines human responsibility and spiritual growth. Repair and becoming happen not through certainty, but through disciplined uncertainty. As the Gra teaches, she'en haketz nitan legilui, the end is not meant to be revealed. Ki hagalui mivatel ha'avodah, because revelation would nullify the work. Jacob's silence then is not failure, it's wisdom. And this wisdom, this restraint, this patience, this trust in the slow work of becoming was at the heart of the rabbinate of Rabbi Eli Shochet, Zichrono Livracha, who passed away just this Thursday. Rabbi Shochet was Jodi's childhood rabbi and my boss and mentor when I began rabbinical school and worked at his synagogue as a youth director. When Rabbi Shochet hired me, not surprisingly, I was confident. I had ideas. I had energy. I believed in myself. What Rabbi Shochet taught me was not confidence. He taught me patience. He taught me that leadership unfolds over time, that relationships are not built quickly even when programs succeed, that a rabbi's real work often continues long after the event, the class, or the sermon is over. Many of the relationships I built in that time period, just 2 short years, are still with me to this day. That is not incidental. That is his Torah. The Gra taught that lasting impact is shaped by consistency rather than force. Hama'aseh hakatan hana'asa b'tamidut gadol min hama'aseh hagadol she'enu nishna. A small act done consistently is greater than a large act done only once. Rabbi Shochet lived that truth. He was a direct descendant of the Gra, of the Vilna Gaon, which is why I am quoting the Gra so much this morning. But he never wore that lineage as status. He carried it as responsibility. He even wrote several books about the Gra, not to glorify ancestry, but to transmit values. In my own family, I have a relative who was a contemporary of the Gra, Rabbi Moshe Ivyer, a Maggid for whom the Vilna Gaon had deep respect, particularly because he understood that it was his calling to teach. The Gra valued teachers whose authority came not from volume, but from integrity and moral clarity. That lineage matters, not as pedigree, but as ethos. Rabbi Shochet spoke softly, always with wisdom, always with kindness. The Gra taught that truth asserts itself without force. Ha'emet omedet mikoach atzma ve'ena tzricha hagbarat kol. Truth stands by its own power and does not require a raised voice. Rabbi Shochet embodied that teaching. As I mentioned, Rabbi Shochet was Jodi's rabbi from preschool. He knew her across a lifetime. And when Jodi and her sister Jill endured devastating loss, losing both parents and their sister in just a 2.5-year period in their early 20s, it was Rabbi Shochet and his wife Penina beside him who guided them through grief that had no map. The rabbinic tradition teaches that comfort comes not from explanation, but from presence. Rabbi Shochet understood that. He and Penina stayed and remained a presence in their lives to this very day. Now, those of you that we've had the pleasure of having at our Shabbat table already, and if you haven't been there yet, let's talk, we'll have you. You probably know the story of how Jodi and I met. It's really all because of Rabbi Shochet and Penina. It was Valentine's Day, February 14th, Kabbalat Shabbat. I was in shul because that's what first-year, second-year rabbinical students do. They go to shul. And I was the youth director of the shul. And Jodi and Jill had come to shul because it was Friday night, and the name of their sister, Michelle, was going to be read at the synagogue, a custom that we have as well here at Bet Tzedek. During Kiddush, this was a small Hamish shul, so during Kiddush, everybody's in the social hall, and I'm talking to someone, who's like here in front of me. Rabbi Shochet comes up behind that person and goes like this. So I excuse myself from the conversation and go, "Yes, Rabbi, what can I do for you?" And he looks at me. Now, mind you, he and Penina have been trying to set me up since I got this job. He says, "Steve, would you like to meet a young woman?" To which I've said, "Of course, Rabbi, you know me, I'm always happy to meet new people." At the same time, Jodi and Jill, who are twins, were on the other side of the social hall, which was not that far. It was really over there by the wall. Penina puts her arm around Jodi, starts walking this way. And another woman, Miriam Carroll, puts her arm around Jill, starts working this way to separate them so Jill would not be upset that Jodi was about to be set up. And Penina asked the same thing of Jodi. Would you like to meet someone? And Jodi said something very similar. You know me, Penina, I'm happy to meet someone new. They brought us together in the most public way you could possibly imagine. And everybody's laughing, and we're laughing, and then Jodi and I figure out we have 5 people in common right away. We set a date for the next week for lunch. 7 weeks later, we're engaged. 5 months after that, we're married. And now it's 33 and a half years, right? When you know, you know. And Penina and Rabbi Shochet, when they saw Jodi in the room, having known me and known her entire life, they knew. And that's why this story is not just our story, it is part of Rabbi Shochet's Vayechi. Because in Judaism, a life is not measured only by what someone has taught, but what continued because they were here. By the relationships that would not exist, the families that would not have been formed, the moments that never would have happened, the children that never would have been born, Had they not shown up exactly when they did at that moment, I know that my life and Jodi's would have been very different. The Parsha is called Vayechi, and he lived, ironically, even though it deals only with Jacob's death. Because as I said, in Judaism, a life is measured by what continues. In the days since Rabbi Shochet's passing, hundreds of people have gathered on a WhatsApp group to recite Tehillim, Psalms for him, share voices, stories, and the way in which he impacted hundreds and hundreds of lives spread across places and generations, bound together in Rabbi Shochet's Vayechi. Stories of how he showed up, of how he listened, of how he lived his Torah quietly, patiently, and with love. That is Vayechi. That is a life that continues. And that's certainly true for Jodi and me. I am certain, deeply certain, that Rabbi Shochet is now in the Beit Midrash Shamala, learning Gemara, in conversation with the Vilna Gaon, in the presence of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, still teaching, still listening, still illuminating Torah with wisdom and kindness. Rabbi Shochet lives in the patience he taught, in the relationships he nurtured, in the stories now being told, and in the generations shaped by his care. And every time we slow down, we listen more carefully and speak more gently, we carry him with us. And the question Vayechi leaves us with is not only how he lived, but what will we carry forward in what he gave us? Tehi nishmato tzrua b'srar chayim, may his soul be bound up in the bond of life. Amen.